Kickstarting with the latest on Tuesday's anti-terror operation in Lucknow. Now, police have released a picture of the terror suspect shot dead at Thakurganj near Lucknow. Police say they have found 8 pistols, 650 rounds of ammunition, gold, cash, SIM cards and passports among the recoveries. The UP anti-terror cell is tracking 2 more persons in connection with the case. Meanwhile, the Madhya Pradesh government has said that they have seized huge amount of RDX, gold and cash in new currency. The Madhya Pradesh Chief Minister said the blast on the Bhopal-Ujjain train on Tuesday morning was an act conducted by the ISIS. The UP police said that Khorasan module of the ISIS was involved in the attack.
जो अपडेट यूपीएटीएस की तरफ से इस समय है, हमने रात को 3 बजे ऑपरेशन को पूरा किया था। उसके बाद में रूम की सर्च की गई और सैफुल्ला की बॉडी की सर्च की गई, तो अंदर से भारी मात्रा में शस्त्र, बारूद, बम बनाने का सामान आदि मिला। कुल 8 पिस्टल और लगभग 600 से ऊपर राउंड्स बरामद किए गए हैं।
अतीफ मुजफ्फर ये कानपुर का रहने वाला था। इसके साथ मोहम्मद दानिश जो कानपुर का निवासी था और सैयद मीर हुसैन जो कन्नौज का निवासी था। ये दोनों भी पकड़े गए। योजना इनकी ये थी कि पुष्पक से आए, भोपाल स्टेशन पर पाइप बम रखें और तीसरे डायरेक्शन में पिपरिया से होते हुए जबलपुर, इलाहाबाद होते हुए फिर लखनऊ पहुंच जाएं।
Now let me take you through what the Khorasan module is. The Khorasan is an Islamic State module in Afghanistan. It was founded on January 26, 2015 around Afghan Pak border. Islamic State Khorasan killed 93 in Quetta attack in August 2016. The module recruited fighters to battle climate change in February last year. The Khorasan module is a homegrown, self-radicalized group inspired by ISIS and owes allegiance to its elusive leader Baghdadi. Now, earlier we spoke to our special correspondent Daniele Pagani on this. Let's listen in to what he had to say.
So, as you correctly say, the Khorasan module, which we can, instead of calling it a module, we can call it a branch, is a branch of the Islamic State active on the border between Pakistan and Afghanistan in the so-called federally administered tribal areas, the FATA. It is not a new organization as a matter of the people who are inside it. In fact, it is an organization where many of the Taliban who were already active in the area decided to join after the victory of the Islamic State in the Middle East, so in Iraq and Syria. What is probably new is that they received direct funding from the Middle East, because we know that there had been in 2014, not exactly at the end of 2014, there has been a visit from some Middle East radicalized elements belonging to the Islamic State in the Middle East to Pakistan, probably to meet the leadership of the Islamic State of Khorasan, as they self-define themselves. And they are probably radicalizing even further the terrorist attacks in Pakistan, as probably they are behind, they are the mastermind also of the big attack against the Sufi shrine that happened in Pakistan recently, less than a month ago.
Daniele, the fact that according to the kind of initial details that are trickling in, the suspect was linked to the Khorasan module when that attack was carried out, the manner in which the attack was carried out, are these signs of the ISIS spreading its tentacles in India?
Well, I would go very cautious when speaking about that, because as it has already happened, the Islamic State is not necessarily linked everywhere. So it is also, there is also the possibility that this person, about whom we know very little, was a self-radicalized element, and probably he did not receive any instruction from the central leadership of the Islamic State in the Middle East or the Islamic State in Khorasan province. So I would go very cautious. Certainly certainly I would not ever underestimate the threat of the Islamic State, because it is also true that it takes only one self-radicalized man who is capable to build a small bomb to create a huge massacre, as we have seen in many other cases. But I wouldn't say that the Islamic State is spreading all over India. That's way too strong.
Right, Daniele, on that note, also the National Investigation Agency has revealed data talking about how the ISIS has been constantly making those attempts and efforts to recruit Indians and radicalize youth from India to join the terror outfit. Take us through the kind of attempts that have been made by ISIS so far. There have, of course, been incidents coming in as recently from Gujarat, from Kerala, of these youth who were radicalized, and attempts were made so that they actually joined the ISIS. Daniel, if my voice is going through to you, the constant attempts being made... All right, we'll just try and reconnect with Daniele. But as we were discussing, the ISIS, remember, has been targeting educated Indians. Now, the National Investigation Agency, remember, earlier had in its data revealed that the Islamic State was recruiting educated Indian youth to join them in terror activities. Remember, just last month, a youth from Kerala believed to have joined the ISIS had also been killed in a drone strike in Afghanistan. Shivraj Singh Chauhan speaking on this issue. Let's take a listen in.
कनेक्शन का सवाल नहीं है। उस घटना की पृथक से जांच भी हो रही है और कार्रवाइयां भी की जा रही हैं।
प्रदेश में जो चुनाव है, क्या ये संबंध इसका समझ में आ रहा है? आईएस कनेक्शन केंद्रीय एजेंसियों ने कहा है इसको।
देखिए, कौन सी घटना कौन कर रहा है, इसको देखते हुए अगर संबंध स्थापित करने की बात करें तो अलग है, चुनाव अलग है। मैं समझता हूँ ये घटना बिल्कुल अलग है। हर चीज को राजनीतिक चश्मे से नहीं देखा जाना चाहिए, मुझे ऐसा लगता है। आईएस से कनेक्टेड नहीं, पूछताछ अभी जारी है लगातार। केंद्रीय एजेंसियां भी कर रही है, उनकी टीम भी है, और एटीएस मध्य प्रदेश पुलिस भी कर रही है।
मोटिव इनका क्या था? दहशत फैलाना या बाकी करना, या फिर रिएक्शन से सिमी वाला जो जेल पे हुआ था वो
पूछताछ जारी है, तह में और जाने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं। धन्यवाद।
That was Shivraj Singh Chauhan speaking on this issue. Remember, the kind of apprehensions of the ISIS actually carrying out attacks in India, going a step further with that first ISIS attack taking place in India, which, of course, has caused many to raise eyebrows and caused a lot of concern within the Indian domestic agencies as well. Daniele, as I was discussing with you earlier on as well, these attempts that have been made by the ISIS to try and recruit and reach out to Indian educated youth. Just last month, youth from Kerala, in Gujarat as well, those efforts being made by the ISIS to actually try and radicalize these youth from different parts of the country.
Yes, absolutely. This can be said. This is true. Obviously, India is a very interesting country for the Islamic State. There is a huge Muslim population, roughly more than 150 million. So it's evidently a country in which the Islamic State is surely interested. And many of the Muslim Indians are very young. But we have also had to say that thanks to the specificity and tolerance of the Indian Muslim community, who's very much attached to the concept of India, to the nation of India, the Islamic State has not been yet able to gain a lot of ground. But as I already said, I would never underestimate the capabilities and the fundings and the effectiveness of the Islamic State propaganda.
Right, Daniele, just hold that thought there. Request you to stay on with us. Some reactions coming in. Let's take a listen in.
Investigation.
Or I will just try and play out that reaction for you. Now, the kind of issues that we've been discussing all along, the kind of concerns raised post this attack, the first ISIS attack being carried out in the country. Just throwing more perspective on this with the help of our international correspondent Daniele Pagani. Daniele, go ahead. As we were discussing, the ISIS trying to spread its tentacles within India, the first attack taking place and the kind of efforts that have been made by the outfit to try and target educated Indians earlier on as well. These instances coming in from different parts of the country where attempts were made to radicalize youth.
Yes, exactly. You're very much right. As I already said, the Islamic State obviously has a big interest in India as the second, we can say, Muslim country. In fact, if it is not by constitution a Muslim country, but it has the second largest population on earth, the second largest Muslim population on earth. So obviously this is a very interesting asset for the Islamic State. And as I said, what is happening is that thanks to the typical tolerance of the Indian Muslims and thanks to the attachment of their country, probably the Islamic State has not been yet able to penetrate the society. Also, in regarding the Lucknow attack, we have to remember that it is also possible that this man was not directly linked with the headquarters of the Islamic State, not in the Middle East nor in Pakistan. Probably he was a self-radicalized element. Investigations are still taking place, so we need a little bit more time to assess to what extent the Islamic State is and if the Islamic State is reaching into India from the headquarters, or it's just a matter of self-radicalized Muslim youth. But as I already said, I would never underestimate their capability and their propaganda effectiveness.
Right, stay with us, Daniele. Just a quick roundup for our viewers who might just be tuning in of the kind of recoveries that were made by the police. Now, the details that have come in so far, 8 pistols and 650 rounds of ammunition, 50 fired rounds, explosives, gold, cash, passports, SIM cards, and a train timetable were found along with the body of that suspect. Now, what we do understand also is that a propaganda video or also the ISIS flag were recovered from that suspect there. So these are the kind of initial details that have been trickling in. The terror suspect believed to be a part of the group that was also planning a major terror attack in Uttar Pradesh. Remember, he was found dead last night after a 12-hour-long operation to capture him alive from a house on the outskirts of Lucknow. The accused, identified as Saifullah, his body was found when the anti-terror squad blew up a wall to enter the house in Thakurganj around 3 a.m. last night. This was hours before the final round of voting for the Uttar Pradesh elections commenced this morning. The police said that this individual was an active member of the terror group ISIS and was believed to be involved in a train blast in neighboring Madhya Pradesh as well. Some reactions coming in. Let's take a listen in.
To the alertness of our agencies and firmness of our security forces, ISIS has been largely unsuccessful in expanding its network in India. The sporadic incidents that are taking place, like the one that happened yesterday, and out of which some information has come out that there are modules elsewhere in the country also, it's certainly a warning to us, and the security forces have immediately acted, busted that entire network.
An option to have a central agency that can suo moto take up investigations of such sensitive anti-national activities. It is now a compulsion, and no opposition should be tolerated by the nation, because it is now a question. It is either you or the nation. Therefore, in national interest, a befitting reply has to be given to such activities. Yesterday's encounter, the recoveries are even more shocking. More than 600 live rounds, 50 MTs, weapons, maps of the Indian railways, laptops, and more than 25 SIM cards.
India can become a very big breeding ground for IS state. Be very careful, and we should try and get our intelligence agencies to focus on this issue. And I think we are quite well up on the intelligence, but with such a large population and with so much of landmass area, it's not possible to cover each nook and corner. But adequate intelligence is available with the government as well as for all armed services.
Going back across to our correspondent Daniele. Daniele, also break down for our viewers to what extent ISIS is a cause of concern in the entire South Asian region, not just India specifically.
Well, it is very much a cause of concern, especially if we consider the fact that the Islamic State is right now suffering tremendous and heavy defeats both in Iraq and in Syria. Apparently, an attack on Raqqa is due very soon. So what is the problem? If they are under attack at their headquarters in the Middle East, they would probably consider to step back and to try to spread in areas where they already have a sort of a foothold, so like Afghanistan and Pakistan, and this is obviously a matter of concern for India and for the entire region, because it's very difficult also to track them down and to control them, especially in difficult terrains like the terrain between Afghanistan and Pakistan, the so-called FATA, the federally administered tribal areas, where Islamic terror and the Taliban organization have a long-standing foothold. They are pretty powerful and under control, and they control the territory there. So it is very much of a concern. I think that India needs to act on different layers in order to tackle the problem. One layer is the narrative, produce a counter-narrative to counter extremism. One layer is to work very closely with the Muslim community, because ultimately it will be the Muslim community to protect India from radicalization. And one most important factor is to track down the money, because the Islamic State will be powerful in South Asia because of the enormous amount of money entering the region through the Hawala system, especially from the Middle East. If that will not be tackled, that will be a major problem.
Daniele, also the kind of concerns that have been raised, and experts have been pointing out how India for a long while has been in denial when it comes to the ISIS threat. Now, we just heard that reaction coming in from the BJP as well, India's ruling party, talking about how ISIS will not be successful and has not been successful in spreading its tentacles. Get us through some of the reactions that have been coming in as far as ISIS actually continuing to spread and trying to spread its tentacles in India is concerned, and on the other hand, the kind of accusations that have been made vis-a-vis India not taking the threat of ISIS seriously enough.
Well, I personally do not believe that India has taken lightly the menace of the Islamic State. I actually think that India could set an example for the world. I think that investigation and the ATS specifically are pretty much effective. Otherwise, we could not explain how India has survived the 20 years of jihad happening just across their borders, and with a hot spot like Kashmir, which could have been the main pillar of the narrative of the Islamic State entering the country and attacking regularly India. So I do not share the opinion of who says that India has been living in denial. I actually think that the Indian security forces do have the situation pretty much under control. Nevertheless, the Islamic State is a real threat, and it is very difficult. It is a fluid organization, it's very rich, and the amount of black money and cash and uncontrolled flow of funds from the Middle East to India through the Hawala system, as I said, needs to be tackled. But nevertheless, I think that also it's very much needed that the government of India works relentlessly side to side with the Indian Muslim community, and India must avoid any communal and sectarian event, which is what feeds the Islamic State ideology.
On that note, we're taking a short break, but before we get into that, a small reminder for you. Do watch our special coverage on the midterm mandate 2017 on 9th of March, 8 p.m. onwards. Poll of polls, where we get you an in-depth analysis of all the exit polls with eminent experts in the field. On 11th of March, watch Result Day live from 7 a.m. onwards with renowned author Chetan Bhagat.